Love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage. This I tell you, brother, you can't have one without the other.
Marriage apparently doesn't appeal as much to Americans as it used to. That's what a new poll by the Pew Center suggests. A little more than half of all adults aged 30 to 45 are married. That's a 20% drop from 1960 when the poll was first conducted. What is going up is the number of adults who have lived together but not in marriage. There's also an education and economic component, with college graduates far more likely to say, I do. Despite the gloomy outlook, nearly half of unmarried adults still say they do want to marry. So, does marriage still matter? Steve Eager is going to take a closer look.
Hi, Clarice, and thank you. I'm here with Nina Atwood. She's a counselor and a relationship expert, and I'm also here with Matt Grubbs, who has really very little relationship experience at all. No, I'm kidding. Married guy. He was out talking to people about marriage, theirs, and the whole idea of marriage itself. All right. We're going to start back. I think, you know, if we're going to talk about when marriage was back in the Leave It to Beaver days, Ward and June Cleaver, Wally and the Beav, you know, everything was hunky-dory back in the 60s. 70% of 20-somethings were married. 70%.
They were.
But now 26% of 20-somethings are married. That's the hugest number disparity or change in this whole survey.
It's a big change, and I think it reflects the backlash. These kids grew up in families from divorce, or they had close friends whose families divorced, whose parents divorced. And so I think that they're afraid. They're not as confident that getting married is going to work for them, since they didn't get to see too many examples of marriage really working out around them.
I think it's interesting. And Matt, we'll get to your people because you talked about this.
Sure.
But 4 out of 10 people surveyed, and this is a disturbing word, but they said marriage is becoming obsolete.
Yeah, they say that, and I think that is people's fear talking. You know, because we see so many trends for different kinds of families. And, you know, what makes a marriage is not necessarily just getting married, because marriage certainly does not inoculate you against unhappiness in life. It's more about what is going on behind the closed doors in a family that really matters. And, of course, we define family in so many different ways now.
And we'll get into that more. All right, let's talk about the idea of marriage being obsolete.
Well, one of the things that we were talking about with Nina earlier, she said, you know, the marriage industry, getting married is a $125 billion industry.
That's the wedding industry. People are far more likely to invest in their getting married than they are in being married successfully.
And that's where we see that idea of this dream marriage. And so what we wanted to know from people, whether they were married or not, is if the goal of a long-term relationship with someone should be marriage.
I think for women, that is a commitment, but for guys, it's quite different. You know, guys are more that maybe they're not too committed, but women are more committed to long relationships, and that means married.
Something about that is scary when you have to purchase it, when you're buying into the whole thing, but if you can just go ahead and say that rent with you're leasing with the option to buy, you know.
Lease with the option to buy.
That's sort of a bachelor's dream come true, isn't it?
Exactly. Remember, that's a single father of 3, a guy who's been married, and he said his mom is going to kill him for defining marriage that way.
Yeah. All right, we've come up with some cute video to roll behind us. Now the reference is, you know, Robert Young, father, always knew best, traditional roles. I'm curious how, well, I won't share what I think. I guess I wonder what you think about the need for 2-income families now and how that's changed the traditional marriage role.
Yeah, well, certainly economically, in order to buy all the things that people want nowadays, they almost need 2 incomes.
Right.
But then that puts people at odds with their deeper desires, which is more about having someone there to take care of the children, someone who's nurturing, someone who's taking out for the home front.
And also, do women, I know women are very confident in their roles as workers, but there is a bit when they start having children, don't they wonder, okay, what if I want to stay home? Can I stay home?
Can I stay home? Can I do it economically? And how is that going to impact our long-term economic view? that plays a lot into that decision making. I don't think that used to be the case 40, 50 years ago.
And really, what the survey is saying here is that as socioeconomic status goes down, the less money you make, the more concerned you are about whether or not your spouse can provide. And as Nina said, what you admit to and what you're really feeling are two different things here. We asked the idea of a spouse being a provider, money, raising kids, providing in a much broader sense. In general, what we found were some more socially conservative things in a more socially conservative part of the country.
Family is very important to me, and while I know working is important too, I'm working now, and I do want to work for a large portion of my life, but especially when children are young, I think it's nice to be able to be around for them.
Even if your spouse doesn't work, being at home, taking care of the children, or taking care of the household, is necessity also.
So really, we're seeing some more conservative ideas or more traditional roles, that's still there for people.
I think what people think, but what they really want deep down are often two different things. Attitudes are different than feelings. Because what people really want when they get married is to have the whole ball of wax. They want to be happily married, they want to have happy children, they want to have a good income. And trying to balance and
I've been married 25 years.
It's tough.
It's tough. Having everything, you just
right.
got to get through it. All right, family era, from the Huxtable days, husband, wife, bunch of kids, dog. The family, as you mentioned earlier, has changed significantly. What role does marriage play in this new family, whatever people think that is?
Oh, I think that it's interesting because the research shows that the vast majority of people still want to be married. They may be hesitant, and they may be drawing back about it, and there may be backlash.
Yeah, we've got some of those numbers. I want to say to you guys, half of all adults are married, and then another half of the ones who aren't want to be married. So I guess that's kind of the good news.
That's
in
like
this,
three-quarters, right?
That's right. People want to be married. And I think it's because marriage so represents what we're really seeking in life, and it's that little crucible of safety that you go home to every day.
How about the new family? What are you finding?
Well, first of all, I had the hugest crush on Vanessa Huxtable you could ever believe. But when we asked people what family means, does it include marriage, what we've been talking about, we actually heard children included in that definition a lot. And we just ran it by mom, dad, kid, single-parent kid. We heard same-sex couples with a kid a couple times. An unmarried couple is where people started to say, well, I don't know if that's a family, even if they're a long-term relationship. We asked them, what about that same couple, that unmarried couple with a kid? No one would really deny them the term family, but you could tell that it really sort of made people think a little bit about what they do consider a family.
I have a little bit of a problem with that because I just see marriage as the ultimate commitment. And I feel like two people need to be that committed to where they're willing to go through with a marriage all the way. And I feel like if you're hesitant to get married, there may be something that you're scared of. You're scared of taking that final step.
Well, I see an awful lot in our wedding room that have kids that are making that commitment to the second level. I think especially if you have children and you want to be a family, that you should take that commitment of marriage.
And then you were saying there's an education component in this as well?
People need to invest way more in how to be happily married, not just get married. And they also need to invest when they're single to find out what they need to be doing while they're dating to be successful.
All right, Matt, the woman in green was your wife.
It was indeed, yeah.
And I want to clarify, when I said marriage is tough, my wife is going to kill me. But it's just work. It's work is a better way to say it.
My marriage isn't tough, Steve. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Boy, I feel terrible. There is some good news. It's not all doom and gloom. We talked about half of all adults are married and the other half want to get married, or half the other half. And 3/4 of all adults say family is the most important part of their life. So that's the good news if you're pro-family, and that's the good news out of the study. Nina, Matt Grubbs, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, if you want to continue this discussion, go to our Facebook page, Fox 4 News, search for that. Also, tell us your thoughts on the importance of marriage by emailing the viewer's voice, myfoxdfw.com.